I'm Ravi. I'm the founder and managing director at Quick.Digital. I'm also a founder and CEO of QuickMeeting.com. It's a hybrid meeting platform, and today I'm going to take you through something very interesting, which is how our future meetings look like, right? And what are the challenges in this sphere? And what are the opportunities that startups and other people have in this space? So let me ask you with a few questions, right? How many of you have been doing meetings, in the last 1 week? How many meetings have you been doing, right? So just have that number in place. How many meetings have you been doing in the last 1 month? And how many meetings you've been doing in the last 1 year, right? Now, there's an interesting thing about meetings, right? So most of you, I think it's a pandemic hangover, where if you use the term meeting, most of them refer to Zoom, right? Or to applications like maybe Teams or some other applications that are online only, video conferencing solutions, but they're not actually thinking about the meetings that we are doing now, right? Yesterday and day before yesterday and maybe today, you are doing several of these meetings, right? And I think none of them are actually can be supported by any of these platforms. Am I correct? Right? So that's the date. That's so. For example, right? I met a lot of individuals who exchange cards. We've discussed a lot of things. I met some investors as well, right? And all of that and the data in those meetings is very important for me, right? And I want to continue those, take the discussion to the next level. And that is where I think the real challenges are. And connecting the in-person, I think after the COVID, what will become more important is you will have online meetings and offline meetings, and the way you connect all of them together, right? So how do you make sense of all this data? What is the kind of meeting data that is present in these things, and how do you use it for your for the future meetings, right? And that's something I'm going to take you through. So there is obviously a big time commitment involved. There is about 56 million meetings that are happening just in US alone, right? And then out of, let's say, a 40-hour week, you will see that 12.8 hours is just gone through just, going through your schedules, going through scheduling new meetings and other things for an average person, right? And about $283 billion is actually being lost in actually conducting these ineffective meetings, right? So that's the kind of potential that your organization may leverage in understanding how just meetings can help. Better meetings can make you better organization as well, because you're fundamentally, if you don't think about the basic component of a meeting in your organization, then I think you're losing a lot of billions of dollars, and that's something which is very important. And now, obviously, then comes the advantage of the technology, right? And we have seen during the COVID how technology has helped us to come out of that zone of just being sitting in the office, but then able to do work from anywhere, and how technology now is how critical is that, right? And at about 83% of now of the people are dependent on technology. This is after the post-COVID, right? And so this is a very interesting figure. Now, virtual meetings, so I'll be taking through some of the types of meetings, and I'll also take you through how the future meetings look like and how you can actually leverage these future meetings as well. So one of the things is as I talk about this, I'll be segmenting it. So first is I'll be talking about virtual meetings. So virtual meetings, as you know, a lot of virtual meeting tools right now. As an organization, you'll be adopting certain tools to go online, talk to it. But what is most important is, I think there is a clear differentiator between a meeting and a video conferencing, right? And that's something as an organization, you should kind of clearly differentiate, because in a meeting, the data is more critical. And if you're using, let's say, a video conferencing solution, right, just to go online and think that that's all is the meeting, then you're going to lose that data, right, about the meeting, right? Because in a meeting, you need information. Like, for example, if I'm If I'm scheduling a meeting at my office, I know exactly the 4 people that I'm going to meet, the location, the data before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, and the conversation that I need to do along with it, right? So this whole information is very, very important. I'm sorry. So now what happened after post-COVID is we are seeing drastic trends, people, organization, especially adopting to something called digital cloud workflows, right? Like I think people are using more of CRMs now. People are using more of cloud platforms to make sure their data is there on the cloud so that it's easy to kind of adopt to this hybrid work culture, right? And that's something also you should look at. Now, imagine you're running an organization and think of all the data points and how much of it is actually present in your Excel sheets and other things, and how much of it is actually there on the cloud workflows, right? And I think the future is something where I think you 100% of the data, except maybe very, very, confidential information or very personal information, all your organization data has to be in some kind of a cloud workflow, right? And the second important thing is there is a lot of AI and humanoid-based technologies that are coming into the picture, right? Enabling you to do better meetings, enabling you to do better conversations with your clients, with your other employees, with your teams. So all of that is actually happening, right? And AI is learning it, right? There AI to, for example, if you're doing a meeting, there's AI to understand, convert your language, and then make a transcript out of it, and then make it actionable points. And just those actionable points will be listed out, and you can select the actual actionable points and take it out, right? So that kind of AI is actually in place, and there are a lot of other AI technologies that are coming. In fact, AI is also leveraging, for example, companies, using, for example, conversation with their customers, right? If you see the Google Lambda project that they've launched recently, which is a language-based AI application where it understands not just from a thing. For example, yesterday I was just talking to one person in the organization, and we were thinking of doing a meeting at 10 o'clock, right, the next day. And suddenly, the watch, the Apple Siri actually said there is a conflict of the meeting because I think she's already, having another meeting, right? So AI is very powerful in the future, and it's going to help you schedule your meetings, and not just that, schedule the team meetings and other things as well. And most importantly, when you think of any meeting, you should think of security, right? Because when you speak something, when you're doing something, security becomes paramount. Especially you're going in an online meeting. What is the applications that you're using on online meeting makes a lot of difference in terms of security, because as you know, there's a lot of security issues that you will be also facing in that front. And most importantly, as we adopt to the future, we may go into hybrid work culture where everything need not be online, everything need not be offline. It can be a mix of both. And there is something called hybrid meetings I'm going to talk about, which will also help you in that. Now, just to start, so Zoom actually was about 10 million by 2019 December, and in just 3 months, they actually added about 300 million users, right? So that's the kind of people that have transitioned from offline to an online meetings. So the next thing is also in terms of the productivity increase, right? Because of the virtual meetings, people have reported about a 50% productivity increase, right? The travel time, the things that are there, that has actually significantly improved. And not just that, there is 65% of all the remote meetings are just audio only, right? And so there's no video conversations that are happening, right? So for example, if you ask your team to go on a virtual call, there's a good chance that 65% of them are not going to switch on their video, right? And so think of that as well. Like, and think of the advancements that are going to happen in that as well. And 71% of the companies agree that the video conferencing is a daily necessity now, right? Especially this is after the post-pandemic. The other thing, interesting thing that is happening in this sphere is the hybrid meetings, right? Now, what's a hybrid meeting? Imagine there's a conference room where four of you are sitting, and you are actually meeting your customer from US who has three of their, their people coming into the meeting, right? And so three of them are online, and four of you of online, right? So there needs to be support in your organizations where your hybrid enabled rooms are going to be the future, right? Where you need to enable the hybrid meeting platform into the specific meeting room so that it can support hybrid meetings in the future, right? So when you're developing new offices and other things, how do you develop hybrid rooms, and hybrid meeting rooms will be very important as well. And what it also means is for in especially like what I think in the future will be like in the next 5 years you will see significant number of companies just going to be hybrid enabled. And I think according to a stat there's almost in the top in the top, let's say 1 million companies, you'll see that at least 81% of the companies are going to go hybrid, right? So, and the kind of business opportunity that lies here is immense, right? And people who are looking for great opportunities can actually enter into this space where the hybrid meetings is going to be the future. And as I was telling, right, not just that, there's going to be a lot of devices, very interesting devices. We are working on some of them for our meeting project. And so very interesting devices are going to come in place, which will help you in taking your conversations forward, right, in meetings forward. And so another interesting thing is that 90% of the organization will or go adopt remote and on-site work as they emerge from the COVID situation. So again, these are just some numbers, but at the end of the day, just imagine for your business, how is this going to help you, right? And how are you enabled at this stage for this kind of hybrid scenarios or not? So if you're not, you have to have the planning started right now. Okay, now enough of what is happening. How is the future going to be there, right? And I know pretty much we have been in the session people talking about metaverse. If you're in the Internet 2.0, you'll be also seeing people talking about metaverse, and meta is the next big game changer and all that. And that's because the fact that people are going to lean towards an area where you and me need not to be in person anymore, and we may be in some other universe, which is a virtual universe, and we may be doing a lot of things. We may be shopping together or doing a client business meeting together, and all of this is a possibility in the future. And a lot of things are happening in this space, and Facebooks, Googles are all investing tremendous amount of money into this to make this happen, right? And if you see Oculus and other things, it's already a reality, and people are actually going and buying areas there and doing a lot of shopping from there and things like that. And companies are leveraging this as their marketing tools, right? It's just not it's just something not that it is going to be in terms of marketing. It's a huge potential, right? And what these platforms are going to offer you, right? So if you're marketing and if you're an agency or somebody, you will have to provide services in these places as well. And your other companies, your brands that are your customers are going to come to you and ask you to, why don't we market in a metaverse? And you should be aware of what they mean and how to do that, right? So that's something that is going to come in the future. And I believe there's a huge potential budget, but there's only a certain percentage of the people who will be on this metaverse. Now, this is very interesting. For example, imagine, let's say, four of us are sitting, and then one person is actually a holographic image of him who is sitting in New York, but he can still actually carry this conference forward, right? So that's something you will be seeing in the future, right? And for example, there are empty seats here, but in the future there will be holograms of the people sitting here, and they will be attending this meeting. And that's very much the reality, right, that we are going to see. And you're going to see holographic projections all installed, and the seats designated, and you can actually reserve your spot there, and you can do right from your office this conference, and you will be seeing us, and I will be seeing you, and everything can be done as well, right? And even the networking after this, right, can be enabled with a holographic image. You can just touch the hologram of that person in your office, and you can request for a networking event, and you can choose his time slot and go into a meeting with him just after the conference, right? So all of this is the future, right? And I think it's not very far, and there's a lot of innovation that's happening, and a lot of companies. In fact, we are investing heavily on this technology as well, where we're going to build technology for holographic meetings and other things to support our product. So that's something I think very interesting, like the next gen, and I think it's going to come into event space and events and conferences as well very quickly. So you should be seeing somewhere from the next 4 to 5 years at least, some of the meetings will be holographic enabled. Yeah, that's the future. Yeah, and this has already been there. Like one of the things that if you see now, some of the meetings, even WebEx has launched a device where you can actually fit in the device, and you can really kind of feel the other person just right in front of you, and you can do the meeting one-on-one with them, right? But actually it's not as interesting as a holograph, because of the fact that that there will be eye contact missing and things like that. So it's still developing technology. I think we will be evolving to a place where it's just your goggles. You put the goggles, it looks fancy. Now it's like kind of bulky devices that fit your eye, but then I think the future is where you just put on your goggles, and then you can see the other person in front of you, and he put on his goggles, and he's going to see he's going to see you, and you're both in a meeting room, right? And that's also very much possible as well, right? So these are very companies like Zoom, WebEx, and all of them are investing into these technologies, and I think it's going to be something that you will also be using in the next few years. Now, coming to the next segment, right? What's artificial intelligence, and how is it being used? For example, you're doing a meeting with me, and how that artificial intelligence is useful for us, right? So one of the things is artificial intelligence. There are already companies which are dedicating a lot of energy into it, and about transcriptions. So language transcriptions, where if you're speaking in any other language, I can actually hear in English, right? Because that's possible now because of the language AI that is involved in it. Not just that. Imagine there is a meeting that is happening, and you want just, let's say, 4 to 5 interesting things about the meeting. The actually AI engine transcripts everything, figures out what is important about the meeting, categorizes them, and kind of lists them as your meeting agenda or your next action points for your meeting, and you're done, right? So you can actually take that on. So this is also real, but it's about 85 to 95% accuracy is there right now. But there's a lot of research that's going into this sphere in terms of AI. So this is live transcription. And not just that, for example, scheduling, right? I want to go to a spa, or I want to go to a saloon, or I want to go to meet a doctor, whatever that may be. The most important thing is that the scheduling in the future is just going to be just one sentence that you speak, right? And the call goes to the let's say doctor, to the clinic, and it actually schedules on behalf of you, right? And that's something in the 2020, I think 2019, Google I/O, they've released a AI engine for that, right? Which does this. So all you need to do is talk and say, I just want to have an appointment with the doctor, and the tool will enable everything, right from understanding when he is free to when you are free, and scheduling the entire meeting between both of you. And this is a very interesting marketing tool as well for you, right? So for example, if you're not integrating yourself if you're a brand and you're not integrating into this, let's say you have a clinic and you're not integrated into this technology, you're going to lose a lot of customers as well, right? So the future is that where everything is actually scheduled just by voice, and you may be driving, and then you can schedule all your meetings, and you can save that 12.8 hours figure that we are right now at, and come down to maybe an hour in a week where you have to do your scheduling part. And that's also very interesting, and a lot of research is happening in this space as well. So the next important thing is, how do you identify a meeting? And this is exactly the problem that we were facing, right? And the most of the meeting tools that I think currently don't support interesting data that I want to interchange or exchange with my other client, or other team members, right? And that's because that's, again, as I was telling, we are all in, I think, some kind of pandemic hangover, where we still think meeting is always online, right? Like when I talk to people and say we are a meeting tool, they'll say, okay, how are you different from Zoom? Come on, Zoom is not my I mean, like, Zoom is okay. I mean, Zoom or any other teams, they're fantastic tools, not to do anything with that. But the idea that meeting is just any meeting, right? It can be an in-person meeting, right? It can be something that you're talking and sitting next to each other, and that can be also considered as a meeting, right? And Zoom or any other tools that I'm using right now don't support it, and that's why we wanted to create a product in this space. Because I was meeting I run a digital marketing company back in Chennai, and I was like a few months back, I was meeting a customer who was also my friend, and like we wanted to take down some notes and just maybe have some interest. And we were having a very very heated, like very good conversation about something about his business, right? And we wanted to actually have that captured, right? And there was no ability of any of the tools that I was using at that time. And that's where, like, okay, fine, like, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I thought there's a good opportunity, why don't I enter into this? And that's where I actually entered into this space. So anyway, just I'll come to that. Maybe I'll just talk about my product at the end. But then another interesting thing is, in fact, in the yesterday's panel discussion also, we were discussing about emotional and contextual understanding, right? It can be, see, when I talk about meeting, it can be anything. Meeting is a very generic word that actually happens, right? Even if you're marketing, if you're doing a sales call, that also is a meeting, right? So a meeting can be anything, right? But then at the end of the day, you have to understand, based on your organization, what are the kind of meetings you have to adopt these technologies. So I'm just talking about very futuristic technologies that you can use and develop your system based on that. So insights into, see, for example, there's a lot of, companies that are, like, I know some of them are in India as well, who are investing into, in fact, there was yesterday mention about a Japanese company as well, right? Where emotional, behavior of your work, like, for example, somebody is doing an online call with you, there are systems which can understand how emotionally he is, right? Like, is he happy? Is he actually serious, or is he moody, right? And all that emotion can be used back in, and then understand how your workforce is, right? So, for example, if I have the last, let's say, 1,000 recordings of the meetings of all your employees, like, I can definitely rank your company at what level you are in terms of emotional meter. I mean, in terms of happy meter, right? That's possible now because of the voice and then other things that is being developed, the technologies that are developed to understand emotional and context. And that's so you can understand by that how much more you have to motivate your workforce, right? And it's going to fluctuate, right? It's not going to be the same. Maybe when they're getting hikes, it's going to be better, but not otherwise. So, and then, like, there are a lot of post-meeting bots that understand, as I was talking about, and give you minutes of the meeting, and evaluating performance and analyzing and identifying the decision flow, right? And that's very important for you. If you're taking any meeting, you have to have that decision flow next to it, and there are a lot of tools that are available today which will help you do that as well. Okay. Cool. So let me talk next couple of minutes about my company. Okay, and this is one of the device that we are doing, but then it's not the core business at them. We are in the R&D stage at this time, but this is the device that you can convert your a meeting room into a hybrid room, right? Just by putting it. So it has a projector, and it can actually recognize the faces, and captures that as a recording, and as well as connect to you online customers, online other, let's say if you have a client online, it's gonna do that all together, right? So, and this is the next gen, and it's way cheaper than setting up a hybrid meeting room, because it's a device and it comes handy where you can place it in any of your meeting rooms. Right now, if you want to make a hybrid room, I think it'll cost you, I don't know, like maybe, tens and thousands of dollars, but this is going to be far cheaper than that. Now, there are obviously, okay, I'll just skip this. So I'll just, I think, yeah, I think my logo is missing there. That's okay. Yeah. So my product, main reason why we developed this product is two things. One, none of the meeting softwares currently you see have an in-person meeting conversation captured in them, right? And that's where we felt a lot of need for it. The second most important reason is this. Okay, as I was asking the first initial question, I asked you to remember a figure in the last 1 month, the number of meetings that you've been doing. I know it varies from everyone, but just imagine those meetings and the kind of data that you have in those meetings. Do you have the data with you today? Do you know who are the people that you met, and are you using that to take the decisions forward? And if you're not, this is the platform for you, right? And Quick Meeting does exactly that, right? So it focuses on something called meetings, and yesterday and day before I was here, and then I was doing a lot of meetings, and all of that information is captured. I know exactly when I met a person, and we have created multiple offline rooms. I think people who have interacted with me will know this. So we created offline rooms, and we have recorded some of the conversations there, and that is there with me all the time, right? And I can go back, convert that into a business or investment opportunity, or just give business, right? So that's the power of the platform, and that is something that is missing in any of the current existing tools, and that's why we built Quick Meeting, and it focuses on meeting. And so this is the kind of opportunity that is there in the space, and it has offline and online rooms, and you can actually create, these are all actually graphics. I think it's a PDF, so it's not rendering. So it has workspaces, it has availability calendars, you can share those availability calendars, and then one-on-one meetings. And then, these are the reasons why it is interesting, because it improves your team productivity by 2 to 20-fold. And also, not just, everything is real time. It has great app support, so you have notes, chats, files, everything in a meeting room, so you can actually access and do that. And then you have, we do it at a very efficient way. The online meetings, that it's a proprietary technology, and the online meetings that happen there happen to be very efficient as well. And this is what we are doing. We are solving something called a complex meeting problem. And all your data for the last 1 month, whatever the meetings, if you're using Quick Meeting, is actually there. And you can do a lot more better, than any other tool out there for meetings. And that ends my session. And thank you so much for listening. And if I may, I can take some questions.